I'm Ken Ballage, and I'm here in Thelma Williams' workshop, and Thelma Williams is the uh, Chief Executive Officer of Atown Publishing Company, Austin, Texas. And we're here tonight to really not honor, but to talk about a young lady that has really come a long way in the last 6 years uh, in the poetry and writing business. And Thelma and I go back quite a few years, about 1983, and uh, at that time, Thelma was a journeyman plumber at Motorola, one of the major corporations here in Austin, Texas. And we were talking one day about Thelma's writing. And a unique thing, she had books and books of poems that she has been writing for the last 15 years. And she wanted to start her own publishing company. And in 1983, starting your own publishing company for a black woman was a little tough here in Austin, Texas. And so we got together and we put together Atown Publishing Company. And I say we put this together. Thelma was the driving force, and I did a lead work. I helped her with this, and now it's come to be Atown Publishing Company is very well known on the circuit here in Austin, Texas, and throughout the United States. So I'm here today in Thelma's workshop to just give an overview of this young lady that I think is dynamic in the poetry and writing field. I might also add that at this particular time, Thelma has 3 books out, and she might get upset with me, but she's working on a major novel right now that and I'm going to plug it. It's called 4 Minorities in One. But Thelma and I started working on several poems that she put together for her first book called A Single Black Mother. And A Single Black Mother came to me very easy for Thelma because she is a single black mother, and she has 2 kids, which are they're grown kids now, and she has 2 grandkids. So A Single Black Mother was real interesting, down to earth, everyday type of writing for Thelma. But it was amazing to me how she put emphasis on certain things. One of her poems out of that Single Black Mother is The Projects. And this is Thelma's books are illustrated, and this is The Projects, which her illustrations are done by Ricky Farrell, a young man that moved to Austin after college from Cleveland, Ohio. And Ricky does most of her illustrations, and it's really unique how these things came about. Thelma would do her poems, and we would sit down, and Ricky would visualize in his mind the writing of the poems. And The Projects is very unique because it tells the story of the roughness. It tells the story of the closeness of the families in the projects, and it also shows how some of the people came out of the projects. So the illustrations along with her poems made the books more effective. And A Single Black Mother, super book. The illustrations, and if you read her book, you can see where Thelma was coming from. By being a single black mother, she put a lot of emphasis, a lot of heart. You can see some of the, matter of fact, to make it really bluntly, a lot of single black mothers can really understand where Thelma's coming from in this book. This is her first book, and I'm proud of this book because this is one I had really hands-on operations with Thelma. And her second book, actually it's not a book of poems like The Single Black Mother. This is a special edition of 1 poem, and this is called Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down. And when Thelma first brought this book to my attention, this poem to my attention, I read the poem, And this poem should have been done back in 1975, maybe even before then, because it explains, this is what she calls a prayer for the black nation. A very hard-hitting, driving book, and Thelma, she writes with conviction, drive, and these poems are many books that you can't put down until you get to the end of it. And I really recommend Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down for the simple fact that it's totally different from A Single Black Mother, but it's a hard-hitting poem that reaches everyone in the nation. And A Single Black Mother is very powerful, but Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down will really grab you. Here again, some of her works is in her workshop here. A Prayer for My Children, which is in A Single Black Mother. My Son, Welfare, Single Parenthood, on and on and on in A Single Black Mother. There's 10 poems in there, and they're all illustrated. But Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down may be my favorite, other than A Prayer for My Children, because Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down is it's hard hit, it's driving force, and people can relate to Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down. And as I said before, it's a prayer for the black nation. Thelma's latest book, her latest release, is The Invisible Man. And one, I would say my favorite in that here will be The Child's Not Mine. And I think Ricky Farrell really put a lot of thought before he drew this picture. This young man is with a young lady, and she meets him after she's showing, and this guy just totally refuses this child. He just tells her, hey, the child's not mine. So Thelma's books are hard-hitting books, and she writes for everyday people. People that can relate to her writings, that can afford her books. We're very good friends, and we're business partners, but this is something that I've really got a hold to, and I really didn't know how dramatic or hard-hitting these poems were until I really read these poems that Thelma has in her 3 books. And she writes poems, but Thelma's also a very creative writer. And I'm going to do a plug, and she might get upset with me, but she's also in the process of writing a novel that's called 4 Minorities in One. But being in Thelma's workshop and reading her poems is something, it's really unique, because people read these things and you can relate to them. But to give you a little background about Thelma, Thelma grew up in Austin, Texas. She left home after high school, went into the Air Force, and she spent her tour during the Vietnam War in the Air Force. And then after that, she continued her education at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. And surprisingly, she became a journeyman plumber. And for a woman to come out of college in the late 70s as a journeyman plumber for a major corporation, which was Motorola, she was recruited by Motorola to do plumbing at the Motorola plant in Austin, Texas. Very unique situation. I asked her, being a plumber and a woman in a man's job had to be a strain on her, but I think it gave her a unique area to be in to do her writing. She also has a poem out called The Redneck Good Deeds. Exciting poem, and the more I read about, and I've been knowing Thelma since 1983, and she's got poems I haven't even read yet. They haven't been published yet. But the young lady is dynamic. I think that she needs to, more people need to see her work. And in Austin, Texas, they know her. She's done several lectures at the University of Texas, Houston Tillotson College, on several radio stations, KLBJ, KAZI, which is a local black community radio station. She's also been on Channel 7, which is our CBS station here, and Channel 24. So her works are known in the city of Austin. She's done many, many workshops. And we're going to give you some of Thelma's workshops, and her workshop will be coming up after this particular segment. But she also has a T-shirt that was well done, and this was done for her special edition for 19th of June in 1986. Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down. And all of Thelma's works are available through mail order. You can call in to order her books, and I think that the more you order, the less you have to pay. So as Thelma's, I'm the distribution manager, and I run the distribution company. So all of her works are available, and they come in book forms. They'll come in individual poems, or you can get poem and illustration together. So what we want to do right now is to let everyone see Thelma's workshops, and her workshops are coming up. So what we'll do right now, at the next segment, when we come back, we'll have Thelma Williams live in one of her workshops. Good evening. I'm Ken Ballage with Atown Publishing Company, Austin, Texas. And we're here today in Thelma Williams, which is the executive director of Atown Publishing Company and also the founder. We're in Thelma's workshop this evening to give an overview of Thelma Williams, Tell It Like It Is social writer from Austin, Texas. Thelma and I got together in 1983, and we talked about, she talked about some of her poems she had written. At that particular time, Thelma was a journeyman plumber at one of our major corporations here, Motorola. And going over some of Thelma's poems, it made me think why she was a plumber. So her total, I guess her total drive was to be a writer. And so we started talking about Thelma doing some writings. At this particular time, I thought Thelma was just about starting to do some writings. And then I found out that she had books and books of writings. And she's been writing for about 15 years. This was in 1973. So it amazed me how a young lady was so efficient in plumbing, which is a traditionally male's job, to become a writer. So she showed me some of her writings, and she was determined to open up her own company, which is now Atown Publishing Company. And we're here today in Thelma's workshop. Thelma right now has 3 books that are presently out on the market. And her first book would be the Single Black Mother, and her second, which is not a book, but it was a special edition that Thelma did, and it's called Let's Putting Each Other Down. The Single Black Mother came about very easily for Thelma because Thelma is a single black mother. I'd like to also impress that the name of the book is A Single Black Mother, but this book is for any single mother. It's a hard-hitting, hard-driving book that Thelma put together that was totally amazing. And you can see in her writings, you can feel in her writings, the dilemma that the single black mother goes through, or the single mother period goes through. And one of Thelma's uh, main, I would say, her main drive to this single black mother's book was, her main concern was was maybe her number one dilemma is, how does the missing male affect the daily development and later the final outcome of the male child. And in that single black mother, she starts out with a poem called My Son. This emphasizes the neglect, the hurt, the missing part to the young male, to any young male not having that father. And the single black mother is a special book to me because I helped Thelma do this particular book. And you have to read it to really appreciate it. And all of Thelma's books are illustrated, and her illustrations are done by a very talented young man from Cleveland, Ohio, that moved to Austin, Texas after finishing college. And one of the illustrations here is the projects, which is in the single black mother. And this particular poem shows the closeness, the togetherness that the people live in the project have, the hard times, and even some fights that they go through. But the main thing about the poem, The Projects, is that it shows the good things and some of the people that made it out of the projects. And Thelma's books are easy to read. Single Black Mother, you can read less than 10 minutes. It's easy reading, very affordable. A Single Black Mother, to put it in one word, fantastic. Thelma did her second book, but it's not really a book. It's called a special edition, and this is called, it's one poem, and it's called Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down. This particular is my favorite. This poem should have been done 1975. Well, it was done in 1975, but it wasn't published. It's a hard driving poem that people can relate to, all ages, all races. It's put together so well that you wonder why you never seen something like this before. And Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down is a very hard driving poem that if you're not ready for it, will knock you off your feet. And to go along with that, Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, Thelma came 19th of June in 1989 with this t-shirt that says Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, which is very well done t-shirt of the cover of the book. Once again, her t-shirts are very, very affordable. One thing Thelma told me, this was back in 1983, when Thelma and I first met, that she wanted to do her own publishing company and make it affordable for the average household in the United States. And we started this thing back in 1983, and I didn't know anything about publishing a book, and having a young lady say, hey, she wants to have her own publishing company in 1983 was, especially a black woman in Austin, Texas, was really unheard of. And but she had the drive and determination, and she got me enthusiastic about it. So we started writing her first book, A Single Black Mother. But something that I must say about Thelma is that finishing high school here in Austin, she went to the Air Force, and she spent her time in the Vietnam War in the Air Force, and after that she wanted to extend her education. She went to St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas, and that's where she became a journeyman plumber, and was recruited by a major corporation, as I mentioned, Motorola. Um, uh, she done teen counseling for many years, counseling teenagers, teen pregnancy, drugs. She also, in Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, along with a single black mother, she does a poem about drugs close to home. So Thelma has, she had done her homework before she met me. I didn't know how well she was prepared to start her own publishing company, which is Atown Publishing Company, that's well known in Texas and across the United States right now. So she put a lot of emphasis into doing this 15 years worth before she published her first book. I was totally amazed. The young lady excited me, got me involved. I started doing the legwork, getting to publishing and how to set this thing up, and we came up with A Single Black Mother, and now she has 3 books out. I will mention that her 4th book that's in being printed right now is A People Set Apart, which is also a driving continuation of Thelma's conviction of non-stopping, tell it like it is, a writer. So her 4th book, A People Set Apart, is just as dynamic as her first 3. I might mention that A Single Black Mother was #1. Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down was #2. And I like to mention her her 3rd book is The Invisible Man. I've got my pick of all of her poems, in at least one poem in every book, but her latest release is The Invisible Man, and this particular poem really excited me, and all of Thelma's books are easy to read, and they're all illustrated. And this illustration that her artist, which is Ricky Farrell, he really captured what Thelma was trying to say in this particular poem, which is "The child's not mine." This hard-hitting poem emphasizes the typical male figure right now. This young lady finds herself pregnant, and she hasn't seen this young man for quite a while, and now she's showing, and she sees him, and he just totally denies "the child's not mine." To really appreciate this poem and to see this illustration right next to this poem is truly amazing. And my compliments to Thelma and Ricky Farrell. They really complement each other very, very well. The next thing while we're here in Thelma's workshop is to emphasize some of her works in several of her books, projects that I mentioned before. A Prayer for My Children, an excellent book. And all of Thelma's pieces come either in book form or single poem with the illustration. She's been very diversified by separating them, that you don't have to buy the whole book. You can buy one poem that you like, and the illustration comes with it. Problems. This is about a woman with her 2 sons, and her husband, very successful, but she hasn't seen this young man, and problems, just one of that dilemma I was talking about, of the male not being there in the single black mother. And she continues to stress the importance of the male figure in her poems. The Invisible Man does that. People Set Apart will have some of that also. And her last book of poems will be in honor of our mothers. um, something that was published in the Austin major paper, the Austin Statesman. Again, you can follow me here. This was a piece in a major Sunday edition. It shows Thelma and her family with her grandson, her mother, and her father. Um, then you can see how easy it was for Thelma to put these things together. Um, the quality of work that Thelma does, as I said before, is well known in Texas and across the United States, but more people need to see what this lady's talking about. She hits right in the 90s right now. Her and I were talking about a piece not too long ago about the young man on 60 Minutes, separating the male kids from the female to give them more drive, to bring some self-esteem, some discipline there. And you can see this in Thelma's writing. Her concern about the missing male figure in for the little male guys. So I'm very excited about Thelma Williams' career right now. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's just something that she did 15 years ago, but it's just like it was yesterday in 1990. We were going to visit with Thelma in some of her workshops. She's worked with community groups here in Austin, the National Business League, the Community Business Association, the Capital City Chamber, the Austin Chamber. She's lectured at University of Texas, Houston-Tillotson College here, the local radio stations, local TV stations. I can go on and on and on. But basically, Thelma's she's a writer, she's a lecturer, she's a poet, and surprisingly, she's a plumber. Those qualities, you have to know Thelma Williams to see how all of those blend together. You can find out a lot about that in Thelma's books. She writes poems very easily, but I'm going to plug a major novel that she's doing, and she may be a little upset with me, but it's called The Four Minorities in One Body. I can't get into that, but that four minorities in one body is wrapped around this one particular person that has done a lot of things to come to this particular novel. In that novel, A Redneck Good Deeds is one of her poems that reflects this four minorities in one body. Thelma has did so many community things here in Texas, and we want the rest of the United States to see Thelma. And she's worked from kindergarten, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, senior citizen programs. She's very versatile in her works. I remember one time we went to one of the local unions to do some of Thelma's works. So it's a thrill to know this woman, seeing her come from not anybody helping her get her works published. People wanted to have her to pay money to publish her own work. So that's a total nother story. But right now, Thelma Williams is a dynamic young lady. You will be seeing Thelma in one of her workshops in Dallas that she put on for the middle schools and high schools up there. So she's very diversified, a young lady that will just knock you off your feet when you see her. So what we're going to do right now, Thelma will be coming on with her workshops, and I'll be back later in the segment to give you some more insights and about some of Thelma's works. But right now we're going to take you to Thelma in Dallas, Texas. And good morning. My name's Ken Ballage, and we're in Thelma Williams' workshop. I'm Ken Ballage, and we're in Thelma Williams' workshop. Um, and as you noticed that Thelma and Margie Ware were just on the community profile. Once again, I'd like to thank Margie Ware for that piece with Thelma Williams. And we're here today in Thelma's workshop just to reiterate some of the things that her and Margie went over, and just a little further points about Thelma Williams. And in A Single Black Mother, that is a book of poems, a book of inspirational book of poems that we like to call that. And Thelma really expresses her feelings in all of her poems. Throughout her 10 years as a family planning counselor in San Antonio, it brought Thelma had to encounter drugs close to home, the welfare bureaucracy, and a lot of other social issues that are covered in all of Thelma's books. Thelma graduated from St. Philip's College in San Antonio. She furthered her studies at the University of Texas in San Antonio, and also Trinity College in San Antonio. And her studies were in psychology and sociology. So this gives Thelma a real good background before writing her book. So she knew what she was going to do when it was put on paper. Margie mentioned that her favorite poem was A Single Black Mother. I personally, in the Single Black Mother book, I like the projects. And the projects is a poem to tell the hardships, the fun times in the project, and also about the concerns of getting out of the projects. And Ricky Farrell is Thelma Williams' illustrator, and he does all of her illustrations in all of her books. And they capture together the feeling from Thelma's poems right into the feeling of his paintings. So all the paintings are available, the books are available, and Thelma even took it further. She can give you prints with poems, prints by themselves, poems by themselves. So she's covered her area as far as marketing to the extent that any part of her works you can get. Margie mentioned Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, which was the special edition that Thelma put out. And this particular book is one poem. And that one poem is a hard-hitting book that should have been done many years ago. And it was done many years ago, but it wasn't published. And Thelma really captured here the thought of living in today's world and being black. When you read this particular poem, it would really send chills through you. Very exciting poem. I would really suggest reading Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down. And The Invisible Man is, once again, she doesn't stop. She's going forward. The Invisible Man is very, very strong. And hopefully when a person reads this, they should be able to understand where Thelma's coming from. My favorite in The Invisible Man is The Child's Not Mine. This particular poem really sends a message out to males and females. You can see in the illustration here that the hurt in the young lady's face, the denial that this man is presenting to her, that the child's not mine. And this is just an example of some of the writings that are in Thelma's books. They're exciting, they're steadfast, strong poems. Read these books, and I'm sure that you will come out with a totally different feeling before you read those particular books. We're in Thelma Williams' workshop, and my name is Ken Ballage, and we're here today to just give an overview of Thelma Williams's works, a little more background about Thelma, and as you saw in the interview with Margie Ware at KTBC TV Channel 7 here in Austin, they covered a lot about Thelma's works. Thelma, in doing her books, has been writing for about 15 years before she published anything. And A Single Black Mother, being the first book, is sort of a favorite of everyone's. And this particular book is an inspirational book of poems. Thelma worked for 10 years as a family planning counselor. And she encountered a lot of problems that teenagers went through: drugs close to home, the welfare bureaucracy, many social issues that she brings out in all of her books. I personally like the projects in The Single Black Mother. This particular poem, it tells a story of the problems, the good times, the bad times in the projects. People living in the projects, or people having friends lived in the projects, can relate to what Thelma's saying here. And Ricky Farrell, her illustrator, really does a fantastic job by capturing Thelma's writings into his prints. And projects just happens to be a favorite of mine. I had a lot of friends that grew up in the projects. And it also shows how the desire that a person have to get out of the projects. So the projects in A Single Black Mother would be my favorite. But there are 10 poems in The Single Black Mother, and all of them are hard-hitting poems. Let's stop putting each other down. This particular poem, and this is one poem, a hard driving poem. This poem should have been done years ago. She wrote this years ago, but it wasn't published. Once you read this particular book, I think it would change your total thinking about the particular poem. And Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down is a perfect title, because once a person starts talking about each other, then you're putting a total race down. Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down is a fantastic book. This is something that will really grab you. The next book is The Invisible Man. And Thelma doesn't stop here. She just keeps going and going and going. And The Invisible Man it excites you. I have a particular poem in The Invisible Man that in The Invisible Man, this particular poem, The Child's Not Mine. And you can even see in Ricky's illustrations here the hurt in the young lady, the total denial that the man is just shoving her off. And he's telling her, the child's not mine, you know, and he doesn't want the young lady in his life. This gives, this particular poem is for male and female. This is a poem to really read in The Invisible Man. This is my favorite here. Thelma Williams' illustrator, which is Ricky Farrell, a young man from Youngstown, Ohio, moved to Austin, and they started working together. And they came up with an idea to really market a book of poems, not a book that just has pages and pages and poems, 2 or 3 poems on one pages, but she emphasizes each poem, and each poem is illustrated. It's a hard driving books that she writes, and there are 5 poems in this series of poems, and the 4th book will be A People Set Apart, and the 5th and final book in this series of poems will be in honor of our mothers. Also is in the process of writing a novel, and this novel is called 4 Minorities in One Body. This gives an overview actually of Thelma Williams' life. If you liked her poems, you will definitely love this book. Being a young lady in a traditional male job as a journeyman plumber, for a major corporation, and that corporation is Motorola here in Austin, Texas. This young lady working in that all-male job really excelled as a plumber, and you can appreciate by knowing Thelma where she came from plumbing to writing her books and starting Atown Publishing Company. And Atown Publishing Company is known across the United States right now, maybe due to the fact that she's had some terrific sales, some good market techniques that she uses. One particular sale that I'm sure she's definitely proud of is 900 books to a children's program in Odessa, Texas. And her books are being used in a lot of different programs for kids. They illustrate easy reading for kids, and her books are so well done that you can use them in different types of workshops and even in classes. It's captured here is easy reading, very understandable poems, but you can use these poems, they're versatile. You can use them in classes, workshops, Sunday schools. And this is something that Thelma's very proud of, and it makes me proud to be associated with this young lady and her works. So what we're going to do at this particular time, we're going to join Thelma in Dallas, Texas at a workshop at Senior High School, and we'll be back at the end of that segment to wrap this up. This is Ken Ballage again, and we hope you enjoyed the workshop in Dallas, Texas with Thelma Williams. And we'd also like to once again thank Margie Ware at KTBC TV Channel 7, Austin, Texas, and also to John Kenny, our producer. And once again, Thelma Williams, author, lecturer, and great writer. And her books are A Single Black Mother, Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, The Invisible Man, and coming soon, A People Set Apart, and In Honor of Our Mothers. And don't forget Thelma's novel, Four Minorities in One Body. And Thelma's... Once again, I'm Ken Ballage, and we're here to wrap up our total session with Thelma Williams, author, lecturer, and a great writer. Thelma's books, once again, is A Single Black Mother, The Invisible Man, Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, and coming real soon, A People Set Apart, and In Honor of Our Mothers. Once again, on Thelma's t-shirts, they retail for $8. Again, we're back in Thelma Williams' workshop, and I'm Ken Ballage. We're here to wrap up this segment. I'd like to thank Margie Ware from KTBC TV Channel 7 here in Austin, Texas. And also thanks to our producer, John Kenny. And once again, Thelma's books, A Single Black Mother, The Invisible Man, Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down, and forthcoming is A People Set Apart and In Honor of Our Mothers. And I also like to mention that Thelma's novel will be out pretty soon, and that is Four Minorities in One Body. I didn't give you the price before, but on Thelma's t-shirts, Let's Stop Putting Each Other Down retails for $8. In The Invisible Man, at the very back, there's an order form for all of Thelma's books and prints. So once again, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. This is Ken Ballage in Thelma Williams' workshop. Have a nice year, order some books, and we'll be talking to you later.